Here on behalf as a representative of Catalyst, where I am a member of the European Advisory Board. I have first-hand experience with engaging men as inclusive leaders. I will share with you my personal experience and all the experience we have made at Parexel. Parexel is a leading global biopharmaceutical services company in the field of clinical research, with 18,000 employees worldwide, and we're working out of over 50 offices. As a former Chief Administrative Officer of Parexel, I've started the diversity and inclusion companies more than 3 years ago. One important pillar of our strategy is to engage men. For me, the Catalyst program, which is called MARC, Men Advocating Real Change, was a gift, arriving on time, achieving exactly what is pivotal, making men not only part, but drivers of change. Today's goal is to share with you how to engage men successfully based on my personal experience and how this fits the overall diversity and inclusion strategy. I will be answering, for example, yesterday's question from Kara Tannenbaum raised in the panel session, the question how to address fear men may have and express. First, I would like to share a bit about Catalyst. Founded in 1962, Catalyst is the leading non-profit research and membership organization working globally to build inclusive workplaces and expand opportunities for women in business. We have over 800 member companies worldwide, and our members are largely Fortune 500, Financial Post 500 companies and law firms, although some universities, non-profits, and government agencies as well. You may want to bring up these numbers. We purposefully say we have working to expand opportunities for women and business because through our research on women, minorities, and lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender employees, we have seen a lot of alignment in the barriers to advancement facing diverse employees. Since our inception, we have expanded our reach globally with offices in 6 countries: the US, Canada, Europe, India, Australia, and Japan. Catalyst supports our members with leading-edge research, tools, and learning and networking opportunities to support the advancement of women and business. And we have resources that can help our members, regardless of what point they are on their talent management journey. Raising awareness is only a small part of what Catalyst does. The bigger component is on-the-ground support and tools. Let me start with calling out the barriers to real change. There's a distinct difference with men, even with the ones who would describe themselves as being open or even supporting diversity and inclusion principles. It is very often not on their radar that there's a true equity problem. Equity is not seen as a problem. This is also my personal story. I had a pivotal moment when I realized it is not enough to have an environment which is non-discriminatory or which is already very diverse. Parexel operates in over 50 countries. I've learned what we as a company can do, not only to be open to diversity or tolerate it, but to make it part of our DNA. It sounds like a small step, from tolerating to making inclusion part of the DNA. Diversity is a strength, And inclusive behaviors provide a competitive advantage. We at Parexel truly feel the positive impact and the outcomes are beneficial to our business in numerous ways. Inclusion really makes a difference. Kara mentioned yesterday the fear men may have to lose status. In addition, men fear saying the wrong things, are not comfortable talking about D&I, diversity and inclusion. Fear, it is a politically charged topic, a minefield. And I also know what men can benefit from learning more and also being welcome to the conversation, so that they are not seen as the problem, but part of the solution. One example I can share is that sexual harassment training, which is, for example, mandatory in US companies, even with the obligation to repeat it every year. You walk away from these trainings that it is better to shut up, that you can only say the wrong thing. Everywhere is legal exposure, and saying the wrong thing can even destroy your career. I believe this actually hurts, and many men walk around on eggshells. This makes it so hard to engage men in diversity and in inclusion. It is time for men to be invited to the conversation so that we can have true gender partnership in our workplaces, where men and women together work on creating an inclusive environment so that all genders can flourish. Therefore, it takes a lot of time, hard work, and persistence to encourage men to talk about D&I and make them comfortable to do so. Even more important is how we handle a situation when something inappropriate is said or someone's feelings are hurt. Are we killing the person? Or do we start a conversation with how these words impacted or hurt me? Are we open-minded to find out what the person intended to say instead of condemning the person immediately? Do we create an environment for an open dialogue? Do we work together with good intent to help each other to navigate through these diversity discussions? Only if we answer these questions with yes, then we are creating an environment which encourages men to participate in the conversation, get insights, gain perspective, understand how limiting these barriers are, and eventually overcoming them. This is truly a journey, and we all need to feel safe. One example of lack of awareness is the concept of gender bias. Many men are unaware of the profound results of bias in the workplace. For example, Catalyst research shows that while less than half of men think of gender stereotypes as a barrier to women's advancement, more than 3/4 of women do. Men are unaware of gender bias because most men do not experience this. They need to be able to have a perspective of what women go through so that they can become aware of the gender challenges women face. Additionally, it is important to recognize that we all have biases, conscious and unconscious ones, men and women. The personal experience to be in the minority not every man has experienced. This is one of the great learnings the MARC program provides. I will talk about it later. I have now described at length the barriers to real change. Let me now talk about how these barriers can be removed. There are 3 factors which need to be addressed. I will address possibilities for removing these barriers by giving you examples in a situation of recruiting for an open position. Let me give you an example for masculine norms. The words chosen in a job post describing the environment and the capabilities or competencies of the ideal candidate have a huge impact whether female candidates are attracted and will apply. Women are not attracted when reading about being decisive, driven, or assertive. It indicates that there's a male-dominant environment. Very often, only through the encouragement of a mentor, women will apply for a job. We all know the phenomenon, and we have heard about it already, that a man feels qualified and does not have a problem to apply for a job when he meets 4 or 5 out of the 10 criteria. A woman hesitates if she does not fulfill 1 out of 10. Everyone will say the selection of the candidate is based on objective criteria. True or false? False. If I am unaware of unconscious bias and therefore have not taken precautionary measures to avoid that they impact my decision. Some of you may know the example of the Philharmonic Orchestra. Everyone wondered why it was so male-dominated, since the selection was based on audition. Very objective. Only when the audition happened behind a curtain, i.e. the jury could not see the candidate and the female candidate did not wear high heels, clack, 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 no clues. More frequently, female candidates were chosen and the composition of the orchestra changed dramatically. We at Parexel have made good experience with having always a diverse slate of candidates to choose from. Research has proven that a sense of fair play is the only predictor for participation. This is not surprising. Only if the privileged group, in this case men, care about fair play, then there is a willingness to help to change the environment, to make sure, for example, that the impact of unconscious biases are limited as much as possible. I will now share with you my experience with how to engage men. The program MARC, developed by Catalyst, is amazing. And I'm not saying this as an advisory board member of Catalyst, but from my first-hand experience at Parexel. Parexel was the first adopter in Europe, and we made a fabulous experience with the program. I personally participated in the first program, and I can tell you, I was several times touched and were very much moved. I know this is not corporate speak, right? But this is what it is, touching the heart. We will not succeed if we try to address it only by addressing it through the brain. When people come to you afterwards and say it was the best training they ever went to, and that the program was not only relevant for their professional, but also for their private lives, then you know something meaningful has been achieved. Let me share with you some more details. On a high level, the approach is through first-hand experience, reflection, and discussion, sharing emotions and feelings to come to the pivotal point. I am in. I want to be the change. Moving every participant to this point is huge. It is transformational. Additionally, you understand what would be most impactful. Stand for equality, be prepared to continue to learn. Everyone is on a journey. Be the role model for others. And at the end of the course, you commit yourself to your personal action you will take today, latest tomorrow. I show you in detail on the next slide what the MARC training covers. Lots of words, let me highlight the main points. It is not really a training where you are looking at PowerPoints. It is an experiential workshop for leaders to be able to explore topics such as unconscious bias, privilege, stereotypes, ultimately leading to self-awareness on the topic of inclusion and gender equity. The description sounds pretty dry. It looks like many other programs and trainings. And I can tell you from my personal experience and the experience we have made in our company that the workshop is truly transformational, unlike any other program I am aware of. I understood firsthand, well actually I felt, it's about feeling, I felt firsthand, it is not a brain thing, how privileged I am as a man. I felt firsthand what it means to be in a minority situation. Being singled out, I experienced how my unconscious biases are in the way of equality and fair play. As said before, I was not only being moved and coming to the conclusion, I want to be the change. On top, I understood what would be most helpful to do. I will now summarize the benefits. The value of the workshop is that it provides structure and direction. Through exposure and reflection, I, as a participant, gained insights, which allowed me to determine action I want to take. Feeling how it is to be in the minority, how it must feel not to belong to the privileged group, certainly drove my ambition and my motivation to change our environment. I strongly felt that it is my responsibility actually to be a part of the privileged group to help others. It was great to see and helpful to realize what can be done and what others already have done. And by the way, it does not necessarily take a lot of time. It is more about courage and do what is right. The value add is created through achieving the learning objectives. I can tell you that the objectives stated on this slide were fully achieved. Everyone left charged with personal action items. Based on the success with the first workshop, we rolled it out in our company throughout the world, so far in several locations in Europe, US, and also India. The workshop is conducted in our premises at Parexel, but it is not only limited to employees of Parexel, it is open also to other participants. We have experienced that opening up the course is very powerful and enhances the experience for everyone. Let me iterate again. I am not paid by Catalyst for saying this or receive any commission. Really too bad. I truly have experienced this workshop as unique, transformational, helping engage men so that they can help with the change. I could be wrong, but so many participants came to me personally and told me that they had exactly the same experience. All of them cannot be wrong. Before I stop, let me come back to the bigger picture. Engaging men needs to be part of an inclusion strategy. Whereas diversity is about having differences in the workplace, inclusion is about leveraging these differences and making them work as a competitive advantage. Inclusion is valuing, respecting, and supporting each other. Valuing, respecting, and supporting. Inclusion is creating an environment that allows differences to thrive and so that people can do their best work. It is about that you are not occupied with anything else, so that you can be yourself, your whole self, so that you can do your best work. Inclusion is a choice, and men play an important role in it. In my mind, inclusion matters on several fronts. Including different perspectives helps us to fuel creativity, innovation, and group intelligence. Diverse teams are smarter and more creative. Therefore, it is also not astonishing that research demonstrates that companies that demonstrate diversity and inclusion efforts often have higher performing employees and thus better results. Additionally, it is easier to attract and retain better talent. Attracting and retaining talent becomes much easier in inclusive organizations that allows individuals to bring their whole self to work. The Corporate Executive Board reports that individuals who feel included are 20% more likely to stay with their company and 20% more emotionally committed. This is substantial. In summary, inclusion really matters. There's a business need and benefit. Men play an important role in this. Therefore, engaging men and make them part of the change is essential. The MARC program was pivotal for us at Parexel. It was transformational and really helped us to engage men so that they can be the change and thus help us with creating an inclusive environment. Thank you. And I'm